If you're a W-2 earner, it's a lot easier to get approved as opposed to someone that's self-employed or 1099. The lenders like to see stability in income. So if you're on a commission or you're 1099, chances are you're going to have to get a loan that requires a larger down payment, 10% or more usually. But if you're a W-2 worker and you've been working at the same place for 3 years or more, typically that's what the lenders like to see. So to maintain approval, remember, you don't want to add any major debt. I wouldn't add any debt, to be honest, until after you close on the house. And you definitely don't want to look for a new job if you can help it. Now that you've been approved, you'll work with your buyer's agent in finding your home. A lot of you have probably been online, Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, wherever, just looking at homes. While you're doing that, you might want to make note of your needs and your wants. A need, for example, would be a backyard that's fenced in. Most of the yards here in Arizona are fenced in. However, if you have pets or small children, this may be something that you absolutely need. Wants may include a swimming pool. Could you live in a house without a swimming pool? Odds are, yes, you could. Especially if this is your first time buying a home and you can't quite afford homes in the price range that come with a pool. You may have to buy a home that has a community pool, for instance. So define what your needs and your wants are and express them, communicate them with your buyer's agent. That'll help them search for you. Learn about your market. It's important that the buyer understands the market that they want to live in, the neighborhoods, the area that they want to move to. There are some things that, due to ethics, realtors cannot help you with. We can give you information and we can give you, we can point you in the right direction to find the information that you're looking for, but there's some things that we just can't comment on, like, are the schools any good? Is there a lot of crime? So on and so forth. Unfortunately, that's something the buyer's going to have to learn on their own. And if you've lived in the particular area for any stretch of time, you probably already know where you want to live and you kind of know what the market looks like. But it's also helpful to know what houses are selling for in that particular market that you want to move to, in that neighborhood. That way you have an idea of what part of town may be more in your price range, especially for those starting out and cannot afford their dream home right away. And then communicating with your buyer's agent to help refine your search. Because sometimes you'll put in the parameters, you have all your needs, you have all your wants, and there's just not that much inventory. So then you have to tweak the search a little bit to open it up a little more. So just be in constant communication with your real estate agent, your buyer's agent, in order for them to help you find the home that you're looking for. As a buyer's agent, this is how I help a first-time home buyer look for their new home. First thing I do is I look at how the home that they're interested in compares to other homes in that neighborhood. Condition, age, selling price, amenities, so on and so forth. The other thing you want to look for, and this is where I can help you, is potential resale value. Again, you have varying opinions on this, but I believe your primary residence is an investment. And at some point, you may want to move, either because of work, family obligations, or you may want to move up. You might want to buy that dream home now that you can afford it. So you have to look into the future a little bit and see if that's a neighborhood or a particular property that has good resale value. For instance, you may be single and you buy a home and you're like, I only need one bedroom. As your real estate agent, I will say you may only need 1 bedroom. However, if you get a 3 bedroom, it'll be easier to sell in the future when you maybe settle down and have a family and you want to move up. You want to buy a house that's bigger because now you have other people living with you, for instance. The other thing as your buyer's agent that I'll be looking for when we're searching for homes are big ticket items that may need repair or replacement, such as a roof, your HVAC system. We all know how important air conditioning is here. Maintenance and structural concerns. I've walked through hundreds, if not thousands, of homes since I was licensed in 2007. And I've seen a lot. I might be able to see something that you can't see as we're walking through a potential home that you want to purchase. But these are very important and expensive mistakes that can occur if your buyer's agent's not helping you. The good news is, even if you don't have a great buyer's agent, you're going to get a home inspection and they're going to help you with this as well. But it's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of disappointment if your buyer's agent can walk through the house and say, hey, there's something not right about the foundation of this home, or the roof looks pretty rough. Either the seller's going to have to replace it or you're going to have to replace it at some point. Or they may look at the air conditioning and say, you know what, the lender's going to have a big problem with this. If the seller is not going to be able to replace it, we might have to look elsewhere. So your buyer's agent will help you look out for these really expensive possible problems while you're doing your walkthroughs and looking for potential homes. This is where it gets interesting. You found the home that you love. You're approved for that price range. Now it's time to make the offer. First thing is that our offer must reflect the true market value of the home. Because if you don't make an offer that reflects the market value of the house, the lender will not lend against it unless you bring more money to the table, meaning a much larger down payment. For instance, let's say the house that you love is $100,000, to use easy numbers. You want this house so bad, you say, hey, Sandy, I need this house. Offer $125,000. And I'll say, okay, hear me out, first-time home buyer. I understand you're excited about this home. However, you are only approved for $100,000. You're going to have to make up the difference of $25,000 come out of pocket if this offer is accepted. Do you want to do that? Are you able to do that? And as a real estate agent, as your buyer's agent, I would highly advise against that, because you're going to be in a negative equity position, meaning you're going to owe more money on that house than the house is worth. So that's the first thing, price. The flip side to that is, let's say the house is for sale, $100,000, and you look at it, you love it, and you say, I know I'm approved for $100,000, but can we offer $75,000? I don't want to spend that much if we don't have to. Again, as your buyer's agent, I can say you can, but I wouldn't. And the reason being is you're going to insult the seller, especially in this market where they're getting full price and above sometimes offers, and there's so much competition. So the offer isn't even going to get looked at. So as your buyer's agent, I have to make sure we make good offers that reflect the actual market value. And before we make the offers, I will do my research to make sure that the price of the home is not above what goes for that neighborhood. Okay, the terms. So there's some basic categories that address the timing and financial considerations that are in the offer that we present. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And contingencies. These are often referred to as conditions that allow you to opt out of the deal if the home has a problem. So the contingencies basically say something along the lines of, if the appraisal comes back too low, you can get out of the offer without any financial responsibility on your end, because it is a legally binding contract. And a lot of times, in almost every case, when you make an offer, you have to offer what's called earnest money deposit, and we'll talk about that in a second. Here's one of those instances where timing is of the essence. It's called the option period. So once we make the offer, and this will be written in the contract, you have 7 to 10 days after the offer to basically make sure the property is what it is. So you'll have a home inspector come out, and they're going to look at the property, and they're really going to look at it much closer than any real estate agent possibly could. These folks do this for a living, and they know what to look for. So the option period allows them to do the inspection, give you the report, and then you can figure out if there are things in there that need to be addressed. So sometimes there's some structural issues, and sometimes there's things that the seller didn't disclose or didn't think were a big deal, but in actuality they are. And we'll talk about the home inspection in a second. So as I mentioned, the home inspector looks at these things all day, every day. So they see everything. However, a lot of times in order to justify the fees that they charge, they nitpick everything. So my advice is to not sweat the small stuff. You're going to get a report, and it's basically going to tell you the house needs to be condemned. Happens every time. It's kind of scary, but don't worry about it, because they're going to tell you if there's a hole in the wall caused by a thumbtack. It gets pretty detailed. What you want to be worried about is the big stuff. So a crumbling foundation, very important. If you see cracks inside the house or over windows or near the ceilings, these are things that are concerning. Water stains on the floors, in the ceilings, or in the walls, because that could be a roof issue or a plumbing issue. These are both very expensive situations. Again, faded or worn shingles. Sometimes you only need to have the seller replace a shingle or two. Sometimes it's a lot worse than that. Plumbing or electrical problems. They're going to be able to diagnose all these things. And you don't want to buy a home that has plumbing or electrical or a roof problem or a foundation issue. These are very expensive to repair. And then finally, mold or termite issues.